The following program is paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Fresno on News Talk 580 KMJ. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Craig Barton.
Good morning, Central Valley. I'm your host, Craig Barton, and welcome to the Real Estate Radio Network, the most important hour of radio each week here on News Talk 580 KMJ. Real Estate Radio is a show dedicated to bringing some rational thought to the crazy world that we live in and helping you to rebuild the Central Valley's housing and credit markets. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted advice. And that's exactly what you're going to hear every Saturday morning right here on News Talk 580 KMJ. Thanks for joining us. Well, as always, it is so great to have Miss Michelle Pettiscavalli here in the studio with us today. Michelle is a licensed realtor and a trusted local professional.
Thanks, Craig. I actually thought you forgot my name there for a minute. There was a little pause. I'm like, really? We've known each other for years.
Sometimes all the synapses don't fire the way they're supposed to. And by the way, thank you. I thank you for showering for this morning's show. I am very appreciative.
Sometimes I just put a baseball cap on and
hygiene is important.
Cover yesterday's deodorant, but today it's fresh. I am fresh today.
Oh, it's so good.
I know that sounds hysterical, but people really don't know me well if they don't know that I will crawl out of bed and go anywhere looking like
I love the whole covering up yesterday's deodorant this morning. Well, the beauty of Real Estate Radio, Michelle.
That would be me again. See? Dirty or clean, I am the beauty of Real Estate Radio Network.
Well, it really does give us the opportunity to reach so many people efficiently for one full hour each and every week. Our goal is to get you, our listeners, the timely and accurate truth about your real estate market so we can help bring you back home.
I like that. Back home. You know what? And speaking of them bringing us back, us bringing them back home, we were just mentioning before we went on air, we are Facebookable.
Yes, we are Facebookable.
They can like us. Mm-hmm. They could probably tell us they don't like us, but they could like us.
There's a small segment out there that I'm sure.
I'm sure that maybe don't like us. Out of my 11 million people that told me they're listening. Anyways, so we are Facebookable, and I think that would be very cool if they would like to tell us some information about what they want to hear about.
Oh, exactly. Tell us what they want to hear, topics they want to hear. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's always great to get feedback. That is for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, on today's show, we are going to talk about foreclosures. Our state has been decimated by foreclosures over the past 5 to 6 years, and on today's show, we're going to take a closer look at foreclosures, the process of foreclosures, and some of the consequences of foreclosures. Now, what effect do foreclosures have on our marketplace? What effect do they have on the homeowner? And what, if anything, is being done at the state and federal level to help inform consumers about their rights and potential foreclosure alternatives? Important topic for those that have either experienced foreclosure, are in the midst of it, or may potentially be experiencing it in the future. Well, we are going to try to answer those and many more questions.
Yeah, on those questions, they can probably private message on Facebook if they don't want to share.
Yes, not a problem. Not a problem. And
I understand.
If they do have any real estate or real estate financing related questions, there is a number of ways you can get a hold of us about any of the information that you hear on the show here. Well, you can call us anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958. You can also check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com or use press 4 keyword KMJ.
Call Valley-wide.
You got that right. To get connected to us anytime. We'd love to hear from you. Well, you heard me say press 4 keyword KMJ, call Valley-wide. Well, we want to help show you that you'll only need one button for the rest of your life. Well, what is Press 4? Press 4 is for all those times you're away from your computer and listening to our show. Now you can get what you want with just one simple push of a button on your mobile home. That's the second time I've done that.
Do they have
with
buttons?
Just one simple
they have doorbells. I don't know about buttons.
On your mobile home, you can get Press 4.
Well, haul that puppy away.
Exactly. Well, how do you get Press 4? Just go to the Press 4 website at press4.com and follow the easy setup instructions. Press 4 will work on any phone. That is any phone. Did I say any?
Dumb phones.
Even dumb phones, exactly.
And, you know, I love that it's easy. KMJ, call Craig instead of 800-550.
Yeah, exactly. One button will really truly
for the
work
rest
for the
of their
rest
life.
of your
You
life.
know, that's a little scary, though. That's like one button for the rest of your life, stalker style. KMJ, call Craig. Exactly. How many of those return callers are you getting, Craig?
That's not
I'm teasing.
information.
All right.
Well, in today's Find Your New Home segment, did I mention Find Your New Home segment?
I like that, but I thought we had a hot property.
Well, we do have a hot property, but that's a little bit later. Well, let us. But first, what I want to do is let us simplify the home shopping process for our listeners.
You know, sometimes, Greg, I really should read our notes before we walk in there.
That always does help. Yes.
Yeah.
So how are you searching for your dream home? Well, in today's busy world, most of us don't have a whole lot of time to spend wildly out there. Michelle, do you know what spending wildly is like?
I do, actually. I spend wild time with my clients on the phone, setting them up home searches.
Well, there you go.
There you go. That's what this is about.
That's a great lead-in, isn't it? Well, so many of us, how many times, I got a phone call from a client last night, and I said, where'd you find the property at? Realtor.com.
You went,
I thought we had this conversation.
Yeah.
I had another client. It was really kind of comical this morning. This particular client, I've been looking for homes for a while. She actually does not have a computer.
Those are tricky ones.
I kid you not, and it really does. It tests your mettle as far as being an agent is concerned, representing a buyer. So in the morning, I do a little update and let her know. So here's the situation on here's how many properties that came into the portal this morning. Well, this morning she sends me a text message, says check these out, and all these 5 properties. Well, guess what? She got them on Realtor.com. Every single one of them was backup, sold. She goes, well, we should have just said they're all backup. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so let's stick to the portal.
I hate to make assumptions, but no, absolutely.
And you heard me say she doesn't have a computer. Well, she got them from somewhere.
Right.
I'm thinking she's cheating on me.
I think she's cheating at the office, pulling up MLS type stuff on the computer.
That can be true. Well,
but it's not true, accurate information.
There can be too many options as far as searches are concerned, and really it does equal information overload. And did you know that there is an easier way? And if you didn't, let us help. Well, you can go to reofresnohomes.com. If you'd like to drive the bus, go middle of the page, right-hand side, find your new home. Sign up for the search. It will email you immediately that a property comes available based upon the specs of the property, square footage, bed, bath count, zip code, city, whatever it is. If you'd like the search dialed in a little bit more, Michelle, we can actually have them speak with you. You can set up the search for them.
Well, and the nice part about that is they actually see as a new one comes on the market or as one goes pending or as it is closed because it's sold. They get to watch how quickly things are moving or how slowly things are moving and what neighborhoods are moving quickly, which is really, really nice.
It helps to set that expectation as far as how quickly they need to be able to jump when it comes time for seeing a property, reacting to it, how quickly they need to drive it to see what the neighborhood looks like.
Right. It's a great form of education.
It is.
Really
well, if you'd like to have us set up a search for you, call us anytime on our offer number, 800-979-3958, or use press 4 keyword
KMJ, call Craig.
Or KMJ, call Valleywide. Either one gets to us, and we'll have Michelle just show you how simple it is to set that search.
I'll show you, man. I'll show you.
I know you will. Well, on today's hot property, we have, and I tell you what, the last, 4 weeks, every single one of those hot properties have gone.
Really?
Every single one over the last 4 weeks.
Well, just the name of the street here is enticing to a lot of folks.
Yes.
They know it's way out in the beautiful, almost to the foothills. I mean, really? No. I mean, you can see right now, I guess I'm looking out the window this bright early morning and seeing the gorgeous foothills off of,
Oh, yeah. There
off
you
the
go.
east.
Well, today's hot property is 113 Armstrong Avenue in Clovis, 93611. This particular home is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, just under 1,500 square feet, 1,495 square feet, built in 1984 with a pool. Large lot, let me tell you. I didn't write down the specs as far as the lot's concerned, but it's a huge lot. This particular home is a HUD home. The Department of Housing and Urban Development is the actual legal owner of the property. Clovis Unified, right down the street from Mickey Cox Elementary.
East side. Oh, nice.
Exactly. And much more. All this for only $153,000. Now, that $153,000, that is exactly what the property appraised for just this last week. The bidding deadline for this particular property is April 5th, and owner-occupants during the first 30 days for all HUD homes. So it helps, like you had said before, owner-occupants don't have to compete with the investors, which is a great, great thing, because too many properties out there, it is investors, anybody, right out the gate. Well, if you'd like more information about today's hot property, please give us a call anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958, or use press 4 keyword
KMJ Hot Property,
and we'll send you more information about this hot property right to your phone. Look for more hot properties each week right here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Well, quick question for many of our listeners, and I know of that 11 million, there's probably quite a few out there that resemble this remark. Are you upside down on your mortgage? Unfortunately, so many folks are. Well, again, this is our HARP 2.0 update, as we mentioned last week and previous weeks. HARP 2.0 is the...
I'm going to work with Johnny. We're going to get some music going here.
Are you?
Yeah, every time you say that, I think of a harp, a true harp. Johnny, we got to work on that.
Okay, well, let's talk about HARP 2.0. The Home Affordable Refinance Program is a program that was created by the Federal Housing and Finance Agency, and it's now been upgraded from HARP 1.0 to HARP 2.0. Well, what HARP 2.0 offers on the street is unlimited loan-to-value. Basically, you can owe $200 on a house that's worth $100, and it'll give you the opportunity to be able to reduce, hopefully, your interest rate. Obviously, it's got to make dollars and cents for you to actually go through the process, and you have to be current as far as your mortgage is concerned. But the mortgage must be owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. If you don't know how to check whether your mortgage is owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, give us a call, 800-979-3958, or use press 4 keyword KMJ Call Valleywide, and we'll put you in contact with Michelle, and Michelle can search if that particular mortgage is owned by Fannie or Freddie. Well, one of the things that we're seeing as far as the secondary market's concerned, one of the things that we're seeing, Michelle's making notes to me here going, what?
That? Huh? What? You're sending them to me for that? No, I'm kidding. I'm totally cool with that. It'll be fun.
Michelle can help. Trust me.
I'm a researcher.
Michelle can help. Well, what Michelle's going to do is
Michelle's
going to sit
down.
Michelle
can help.
Michelle can help.
Yeah, it's going to be, my numbers are going to be KMJ. Michelle can help.
Michelle can. Well, what we're seeing, if your mortgage is currently serviced by Bank of America, Wells Fargo, GMAC, or formerly GMAC, Ally Bank, Citi, and Chase, the loan to values are unlimited. So if your owner, non-owner, second home is currently serviced by one of those institutions, you should be able to go back and refinance your mortgage with them now, regardless of the loan to value. Granted, it's got to make dollars and cents. So if you're paying 6% and you're only able to get your interest rate down to...
So they have confirmed they're doing rate and terms on their own clients.
Correct.
Regardless of value.
Regardless of loan to value.
Nice.
Exactly.
So we have confirmation of that.
We have confirmation of that.
Perfect.
Now,
and can you name those institutions one more time?
Sure. Bank of America.
B of A.
Wells Fargo.
Wells.
Citi. Chase. And Ally Bank.
Ally.
Formerly GMAC.
Okay. So those are our actual...
Now, those are the ones that are also part of the those are the institutions that are also part of the $26 billion 49 states attorneys general's settlement recently. Those are doing it. There's other banks out there, Union Bank that I've heard, U.S. Bank. They're also doing unlimited loan to value, but only Union Bank to Union Bank. It has to be serviced. It has to be a Bank of America loan.
Right, for Bank of America to look at it.
Exactly. Okay. Bank of America is not going to take a Chase loan.
Right, and vice versa.
They don't want to take on, there's going to be a much higher risk.
Well, that's where we can help them with the Fannie Mae or the Freddie Mac. If they're not serviced by one of those folks, call us. Or even if they are, we can help
If they are, great. If they are not, there may not be hope for those folks, unfortunately. We haven't seen that there's going to be any relief. So the biggest, most important point with regards to HARP 2.0 is that if you don't know where you stand, give us a call. Again, 800-979-3958, or use press 4 keyword KMJ HARP 2.0. Exactly, and we'll send you more information about HARP 2.0 right to your phone. Well, after the break, we are going to begin that discussion that we talked about earlier about foreclosures. What effect do foreclosures have on your marketplace, and what effect do they have on the homeowner? Interesting questions. You're not going to want to miss this. Well, you are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on News Talk 580 KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
All it takes is one call to the professionals at Valleywide Homes, and you'll start building wealth in real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing investment property, let the experts at Valleywide Homes help. There's never been a better time to get into the real estate market. Visit our website at reofresnohomes.com or call toll-free 800-979-3958. That's 800-979-3958. And put the seasoned professionals of Valleywide Homes to work for you.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Well, Michelle, over the last 5 or 6 years, our nation, but more importantly, our state and our valley has just been absolutely, positively decimated like we have never seen before with foreclosures. And today what we're going to do is we're going to take a closer look at foreclosures, the process of foreclosures, the history, Michelle, right?
Sorry, yeah, I had to inject some history today.
No. I'm a history major, so I love it. The history of foreclosure and the consequences of foreclosure. Some of these questions are questions that are difficult to ask, and most homeowners, honestly, may not really want to know the answer to these questions, but we're going to take a stab at it. Well, did you know that 1 in every 259 housing units in California received a foreclosure filing in February 2012.
Wow.
That is a staggering...
That's statewide, huh?
That is statewide.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a staggering number. Well, foreclosure, let's... Again, you know how I am with my definitions.
Yeah, I want to hear this one because I may have to edit it. I've been doing my research this
thank
week,
you.
friend.
Okay, well, I stand pre-corrected before I
even
get it out of my mouth. Johnny, did you see that? Wow, foreclosure is a specific legal process in which a lender attempts to recover the balance of a loan from a borrower who has stopped making payments to the lender by forcing the sale of an asset, typically that property, used as the collateral for that loan. Okay, what'd I do wrong?
You didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
But legal process, I think, is where it kind of went haywire. What was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. 6 words in, you went wrong. Legal process. You know what? I had to share with Craig a little bit of history because I had a really, really cool real estate instructor when I got my license. Honest to God, I can't remember her name for the life of me, but I'm sure if I...
But she was really
She
cool.
was really...
Oh, my God.
No, but she went into the history of foreclosure. And what we have now is actually trustee sales, not true foreclosure. Because foreclosure applies to a mortgage, and we in California generally, not always, but generally do a deed of trust. And that all came to fruition and was created out of the Depression. Gotcha. And so I found it really interesting that because farms, for instance, back in the Depression, when the economy went haywire, people were losing their farms. Well, a true foreclosure on a mortgage is a legal proceeding, which takes a very long time, and it could have court delays and whatnot. Well, because we were trying to feed the country here in California, it became an issue where we did not want in the future to have that same issue where we couldn't feed the country because these farms are sitting in foreclosure and nobody's operating them, nobody's buying them, nobody's selling them, nobody can do anything with them. So in the state of California, that's when we went to deeds of trust, which are different.
This may sound like a crazy question, but the deed of trust, the intent of the deed of trust was to help simplify the process.
Correct.
Okay.
No longer court-driven.
So was it a situation or a case early on that they either wanted to slow the process or speed the process up?
They were trying to speed the process up because the farms and the farmers, and it wasn't just California, but it began in California as far as this change, I believe, if I recall. But nonetheless, the farmers couldn't afford to run their farms because of the economics of the nation. So their farms were sitting.
Gotcha.
They're in foreclosure. The bank has taken the farm, and they're in court proceedings. They're fighting over this farm in court and putting it on hold and waylaying it. Well, nobody can buy it and operate it because it's in foreclosure.
So it helps drag. It
drags out the process.
It helped to drag the process out.
So these farms would sit for 3 or 4 years and not be worked.
Gotcha.
And we have people to feed in this nation.
And when you say
and the world,
lay fallow,
exactly.
You're talking a lot of ground being up on the farm.
And our farmers can appreciate this. I mean, California is the 8th largest economic force in the world, and it's due to our farms.
Sure.
So we actually do now, when a loan is funded, it is a deed of trust, not a mortgage. A mortgage was a lender and a borrower.
Gotcha.
A deed of trust is a trustee, a trustor, and an investor.
Gotcha.
So the whole format has changed. And so as soon as you do your notice of default and you go through those small, simple steps, boom, they're selling that property.
Right.
And what we are calling foreclosure in the marketplace here in California and in about 30 other states, give or take, are not foreclosures. They're actually they're
trustee sales.
Yeah, they're deeds in lieu of. They're trustee sales. Take my deed because I can't pay you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I found it really interesting as far as it all happening back in the Depression because they were on interest-only loans back in the Depression.
I remember we were talking about it before the show, and you mentioned interest only, and I made the comment to you.
And that's when that stopped.
They went away.
They went away.
And didn't come back until when, Michelle?
I believe it was the late 80s. I honestly don't know when the actual interest-only loans became regular activity again. I know over this market that we've seen.
Right.
It's definitely
early 2000s. It seems like, and granted, that could be way off.
We kept the 30-year fix and the 15-year fixed. Even through the 90s, but it wasn't, and they may have been available, but not prevalent. Right. Investors might have used them here and there.
I didn't see them very prevalent, that's for sure.
Correct.
Equity lines of credit, interest only, that was a common feature of an equity line of credit or a second mortgage, or but you didn't see interest only as a regular or normal feature to most mortgages until we saw such rampant appreciation in the early 2002 is when it really began to take off, and it was another means by which to qualify more buyers for mortgages. It was another variable that helped you to, it dropped your mortgage payment by whatever it was and allowed you to be able to qualify for more.
More house, less money, and that's what they were doing. And one of the articles that I read, and just doing some research, laughed. It was written in 2005, and it was comparing the Great Depression to now. And in 2005, they were doing that comparative, and they were saying, "Gosh, isn't this a little bit similar?" In the 20s and 30s, they were talking about the problem that everybody was buying on interest-only loans, farms, houses, ranches, whatever, and paying interest only. And then when it came time to actually fully amortize, they couldn't afford it.
Right. And
the monies that had been lent on the farm or whatever, all monies were held by the banks.
Right.
They weren't held by another party. So you're talking straight lender to consumer, so bank to consumer. And so the consumers all ran on the banks to get their only savings out in the hopes to save their property or do things, and there wasn't enough money at that point because
they didn't have enough money printed.
So it just accelerated, and it was, and we're seeing the similar things going on. Interest only. As soon as it amortizes, we're losing our houses. I mean, that's what's going on in the marketplace now. The difference then was they made changes after that time, like putting FDIC into effect.
And creation of Department of Housing and Urban Development, FHA, Federal Housing Administration.
So we put some really key things and implemented those after the Depression. And what's so interesting is back in 2008, they changed and they've recalled some of the FDIC requirements for lenders and whatnot. So it was almost like they were waiting. I mean, they were just like, okay, well, we're almost to the bubble popping. Let's just make it pop.
Yeah.
And they made those changes.
Well, you know what they say, just like I said earlier, in history, those that don't pay close attention are doomed to repeat it. That is for sure.
And we definitely are seeing that.
So let's take a look at just kind of in general, what are some of the causes of foreclosure? There could be any number of loss of job, loss of income. If all of a sudden with your employer you've been consistently, and so many employers here in the Valley, especially if it's manufacturing, that there's overtime or some sort of bonus structure based upon production, you lose that. All of a sudden your boss comes in and says, I'm sorry, but we understand that your overtime has been roughly a third of what you have made, but we're going to actually take that away. Or commission income. This is not, I was sitting at my son's basketball game about 3 years ago, and it was really interesting because I overheard a woman behind me, and she made the comment, she worked for an architectural firm, and she said, architectural engineering.
Sure.
And she said, oh my gosh, it's just so amazing how, we used to have so many people on staff, and now we've downsized. We're about 20% of what we used to be.
Right.
And part of what it was, she kind of went into the housing downturn and so forth.
Right.
It is amazing how far-reaching, when you start talking about from dirt to done.
Yes.
Here in California.
Yes.
Well, it's that way anywhere, but just really how far-reaching.
Right.
When you have a market that's that hot, really how the tentacles of the market go out and drag folks in, because bottom line is we all want to work. We all want to work hard. We all want to get paid.
Right.
And if we can work harder and get paid more, we're going to go for it.
Well, and I even heard rumor when I was in construction, when I was working with a custom builder, that many of our ag-driven population became construction population even during that time. And we talked about one door closes, another one opens, and that's just the natural progression of things.
Folks that were working in ag transitioned to
they became framers, or they became, became painters, because the market was hot for that,
so
and they made more money.
That's why there was a shortage as far as farm laborers.
Correct.
That there was I don't want to say complaint, but basically it was, where they were just clamoring for,
you can have economical help.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it is far-reaching, and it touches every piece here in the Valley. That's for sure.
Wow. Well, again, continuing on as far as causes of foreclosure, loss of a family member. We've heard that I can't tell you how many times. Here's some of the ones that are difficult to actually talk about.
Yeah, this would be where we're cyclic. This is where the 20s are hitting us again.
Financial mismanagement. That is a big word.
It is.
But to a certain degree, a lot of us, when you look at how prevalent it was to be able to cash out refinance, and how easy lenders made it to be able to cash out refinance on a single-family residence, you used to be able to grant a name on title, and the next day you could cash out on that property because the person, let's say, the person that was on title before wasn't able to qualify for some reason. You're able to grant title to an individual.
A new person, a family member, friend, whatever.
Could be anyone.
Gotcha.
And take cash out.
Wow.
Now, that's days gone by.
Because they had the credit to support
They had the credit to be able
out.
to qualify for it, exactly. Financial mismanagement or overspending. How many folks used, and you've heard this term used time and time again, how many folks used their homes just like an ATM?
Many.
Yeah,
many
folks. Well, how did we get here? I mean, really, when it comes right down to it, I think it takes a certain degree of financial responsibility on our parts. Just because someone else is buying a new home or buying a new car or what have you, doesn't mean we have to do it as well. If you listen to Dave Ramsey on 105.9, the FM KMJ, and Dave's on there. Dave's on there all the time. He's an institution.
Yeah.
Well, what does he talk about? Bottom line, being debt-free, nothing more than a 15-year mortgage. If you follow his tenets to a T, guess
set
what?
Yourself up well.
You never get yourself into this kind of position. As he says, beans and tortillas, tortillas and beans, and you never see the inside of a restaurant unless you're working there, son.
Really? I like that.
I love it,
I've heard that before.
Well, so many people have gotten to that point of unfortunately heading to foreclosure, but they never, ever reached out to their servicer. And bottom line is, you have to make sure if you are experiencing one of these hardships, loss of job, loss of income, overtime, bonus commission, loss of a family member, or financial mismanagement, you've got to open up the lines of communication with your servicer and have the conversation with them in terms of, regardless of how you got here, and I can't stress this enough, folks, regardless of how you got here, you've got to rip the Band-Aid off and begin that conversation as to what are your options.
You're waiting for me to speak because
yeah,
you saw me open my big mouth, didn't you? No, I think it's really, really important. I don't care. I mean, last week we were talking about short sales and the importance of having that conversation before you go into default.
Correct.
Which now we're talking about default, and now that you've missed a payment or you anticipate missing a payment,
certainly,
that's a conversation that needs to happen. Yeah. I've actually had clients where we sit and we put that servicer on conference call and we call them and we address as much as we can at that point because they want to find a way, but they're lost. It's like they're wandering with no roadmap. So
making your payment is making your payment. I don't want to say is a hard thing. Making your payment, or when it's difficult, or you can't make your payment, and you're trying to determine where you're going to turn to, who you're going to turn to. It's important to talk to someone you know, you like, you trust. If not starting there, start with the servicer because you've got to begin that communication. Never avoid contact. Never suffer, or I say never suffer from. You're going to suffer from it, but never allow analysis paralysis to overtake how you operate on a daily basis because the longer you wait, sometimes choices are made for you.
And that's exactly right. It's going to happen, and whether you participate in it or not. Participation is key in cushioning your family unit from the devastation it can cause. I mean, I truly believe that. And servicing. Let's talk about the servicers. The servicers on the other end taking those customer service calls, if they've got notes in there, you know, client just changed jobs, had 1 month off before the new job started, blah, 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 they're going to be a lot less likely to throw you in front of a trustee sale than they are the guy who's ignoring them.
Very, very true.
You know, I mean, really, let's communicate. Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, if you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that we cover here on the show, we would absolutely love to hear from you. Call us anytime on our off-air number, 800-979-3958. Or you can check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com, or just press for keyword KMJ.
Call Craig.
Or KMJ, call Valleywide.
I think I'm on the wrong note again.
No, you're doing okay. Either one of them works, so they still get to us. And you'll get connected to us anytime. Well, after the break, we are going to take a closer look at the actual process of foreclosure. Make sure you stay right where you are. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on News Talk 580 KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
Mortgage interest rates are at historic lows, and there's never been a more affordable time to buy real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing property, let the mortgage professionals at Valleywide help. Valleywide Homes has been helping homeowners with their mortgage needs since 1997. When it comes to the Valley's real estate, we know our way around the neighborhood. Call toll-free, 800-979-3958, and put the seasoned professionals at Valleywide Homes to work for you. Valleywide Homes, NMLS number 342062, 235952, California Department of Real Estate License 01228460.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Well, Michelle, before the break, we were talking about foreclosure. We went into the history of foreclosure and some of the causes of foreclosure. Now we're going to talk about the actual steps of the foreclosure process. In the very, very beginning, before what we call a notice of default, before it's filed, what ends up happening is it typically takes somewhere between 3 and 6 months in general before a notice of default is filed. So you've got to be delinquent. You've got to be, I would say at the bare minimum, at least 90 days. On an industry average or a servicer average, what you would see is that it's typically roughly 3 months, being 3 months delinquent, before they will typically file a notice of default. Now, does that mean that it's going to happen on the 90th day?
Right,
Does it mean that it's going to happen on the 120th day? The likelihood, there is a greater likelihood that it will happen, especially if there's been no communication. If there's been communication, great. That still may not stall or slow the process.
Now, clarify.
Yeah.
90 days minimum or 30 days they can?
90 days before you will typically see that they will exercise their right to file.
But they have it at 30 days.
They have
if you're 30 days late,
If you are 30 days late, you are technically in default.
That's what I
understand. And they will begin noticing you that we have the right to be able to, as a method to cure this, you're in default. We can take the property back.
Right.
The scary thing is, so after you are 3 to 6 months down, and 3 to 6 months down, let's say it's just conservatively, let's say 3 months, and you haven't really done a great job of communicating with a servicer, and your payment's $1,000 a month. And granted, there's many homeowners out there that they're not looking at it being $1,000.
They're looking at $3,000 a month.
Yeah,
exactly.
So if it is $1,000 a month, you've got $3,000 plus late fees plus penalties. Okay. Plus, the moment that notice of default is filed, you bring the trustee in, because the trustee is the one that is actually going through, the attorney is actually going through the process of filing that notice of default. So now you have their fees that you're responsible for paying as well. So can you reinstate that mortgage at that point in time after a notice of default is filed? Yes. And in every instance, you will see if you are $3,000 plus, let's say, $1,000 in penalties and fees. You're $4,000 owing total.
Okay.
Let's say you send a $1,000 payment in after that notice of default's been filed. The servicer has a responsibility to send that back to you, because if they don't, it'll be construed that they're willing to accept less than the full amount that is allowed to be, that is required to have that loan be reinstated and that notice of default rescinded. So know that after your notice of default is filed, it's not the whole loan. It's just what's owing.
What's in arrears.
Principal, exactly. Principal, interest, and penalties.
I see. Okay.
And any fees associated with that.
Because you will hear people in the marketplace say, well, I sent them a check, but then I got it back in the mail, and I don't know if they thought it was supposed to go to my impound account, blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, you do hear that.
Unfortunately,
okay. So that makes sense.
You do hear that way too many times.
Way too many times.
And the other thing I'll say is, when you hear that, it has also been because there has been no communication.
Correct.
What they did is this. I keep getting phone calls. I keep getting notices.
I'll shut them up by sending
something.
Send
them $1,000, and maybe they'll kind of back off a little bit. Not
Stop calling my cell phone.
After it does not.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It does not cure itself. Don't ever call me again.
Right.
Wrong number.
Wrong number.
He no work no more.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's extremely important. Again, once the notice of default is filed, only that full amount of principal, interest, and penalties will be accepted by the servicer to actually, and they call that rescind the notice of default. Now, 90 days later, once that notice of default is filed, the servicer has the ability to be able to actually file what's called a notice of sale, or notice of trustee sale. At that point that notice of trustee sale is filed, the full amount of the loan.
So they're calling it. They're saying
they
pay it
are
off,
calling the
or
loan.
we're going to auction.
You hit it right on the head.
Okay.
They are calling that entire loan due and payable, plus all interest that is accrued, plus all penalties, plus all trustees' fees. Everything that is owing on that particular loan is now due and payable. At that point in time, how often is it that it's a situation that loan is actually reinstated when the full amount is owing? Hardly ever.
Slim to none.
Yeah, slim to none.
Yeah, that's what calling the note. We hear it all.
Exactly. So at that point, what ends up happening is when the notice of sale is filed, then the lender will typically have someone in the field that will come and post a notice on your front door, letting you know that your home is going to sale and they call it at the courthouse steps.
And in California, they actually post it in a publication somewhere.
Correct.
To notify people. The notice of trustee sale published one time per week for 3 weeks in California.
Correct. Very correct. 21 days later, if you have not done anything to get them to rescind or postpone that sale, it will go to sale at the courthouse steps. And at that point, expect that if your property does go to sale, that you're going to get a knock on your door, and it's either going to be someone that represents the bank, like with, as an example, with Bank of America, we are responsible for determining occupancy. Once they've taken a property back, it is our responsibility to actually go out and knock on the front door and determine friend or foe.
And at that point, Craig, is this a renter? Is this a squatter? Is this a homeowner?
Let me tell you, all of the above.
Ex-homeowner?
All of the above.
Okay.
Homeowner, tenant, could be a squatter.
Right.
In rare instances, it's a squatter. But in most of the instances, it's a homeowner or a tenant. And in both instances, different rules apply as far as how much notice has to be given. An eviction process, if they say, hey, we're staying here, they will typically get offered cash for keys, and the eviction process is then started as well.
I see.
In most instances, you're seeing, and we're seeing with Bank of America, it's somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000 as far as relocation assistance. We call it cash for keys. We want, or Bank of America wants it to be a smooth and peaceful transition. Don't tear up the home, don't destroy it. It has to be left in good condition. Bottom line. So,
one other mention I wanted to say was that if it's a renter, just for those landlords out there, if you have been collecting rents and not applying it to the mortgage, that is prosecutable.
Yes, it is
by law. So they need to be very aware of what they're doing if that happens.
And you hit it right on the head. It is very prosecutable. And it's a situation where there are other folks that are out there on the internet preying on individuals. I had a client call saying, hey, I'm calling because I'm wanting to rent your property in Madera. And I said, which property is it? And they, yada, 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 Riverview. Oh, really? I said, well, that home is for sale. It is not for rent. Someone on the internet was posting something saying, and it was basically, they were preying on someone that was naive, unsuspecting. The security deposit was $1,000, rent was $1,000.
And they had a listing in there?
It was a listing. I say a listing, but it was a posting to rent a property, and they were trying to rent our property. It was a HUD home.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and they were trying. They said, "Oh, we're out of the country, so you need to send us $2,000 verified funds, and we'll send you the keys, and it's all yours."
And we should say, don't pass go directly to jail.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Yeah, and make sure that you consult if you ever have any questions about that. Consult your local real estate professional. Consult us. We'd be happy to research it for you. And
Better Business Bureau, something.
Most
definitely be seeking out information.
Well, another question that I think it's really important to touch on is: do we see homeowners that fall through the cracks? We just talked about notice of default, 90 days later, notice of sale, 21 days later, the property goes to sale at the courthouse steps. Do we see that it is a situation, and we hear stories all the time, where a homeowner stays in their house for a year and a half, 2 years, does not make a payment. Exactly. I had a client that called me, actually a friend of the family, called me within the last year or so and said, hey, me and my husband, we're actually thinking about buying a home, and we want to find out what we've got to do. We lost our last home. Really? Okay, let me pull it up. So I pulled it up for them. I said, were you aware that home is still in your name? She's like, what?
Are you kidding?
I kid you not. A year and a half before, they had moved out of the house. Home was still in their name. I said, sweetheart, we've got to get this process going.
Right.
Okay. And if we don't get this going, it is going to be much, much longer before you and your husband are able to qualify for financing. It is just absolutely going to be much longer.
Because the deed and everything is still in their name.
Still in their name. It still shows up per public record that. So not only is public record still showing it's in their name,
right?
But think of the path of destruction. It's like a big twister on your
credit report.
That it has just torn a path of destruction
for years.
All that time.
Wow.
That it has not. That it's been reporting 120 days delinquent, and they haven't taken it back. In that situation, I told her immediately. I implored with you've got to contact the servicer immediately. And you've got to have one of two conversations: deed in lieu of foreclosure, which is that's basically like sending the keys back of the house to the lender, or finding out if they can, where are they at in the process and how can you speed this along, because we would like to get this out of our name immediately,
if not sooner.
Yeah, if not sooner.
Wow.
And her homework was to get back with me and let me know how how it went. But unfortunately, it's a situation that's a touchy subject, and I hadn't heard back from her. I need to follow up with her. Well,
just real quick on one note, in regards to a difference between a deed of trust and a mortgage, lenders cannot seek a deficiency of judgment if it's non-judicial, unless it is not the very first mortgage that was put on that property, which we talked with Nancy about a few weeks ago. So it's definitely something where in this state you better consult somebody, talk to somebody about your tax repercussions if it does go all the way to foreclosure. If that's the very first loan you ever had on that house, you're probably okay. But if not, either way, you need to call someone.
Certainly. Well, one of the things that we want to talk about here also is that there is a large segment of society or of the population here locally that is that's having to make a decision, and the decision is this: I can make my payments. I'm in my property. Everything's fine. I haven't seen a loss of income. I'm not experiencing some sort of hardship, but they're actually making the choice to walk away from the property.
Right.
And what they call that is a strategic foreclosure. The unfortunate part is that it does, if it's a situation that they stop, that they walk away from the property, or they do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. My recommendation, if they were to, deed in lieu, not necessarily the best. Really seriously, not necessarily the best option for them. Short sale would be their number one option. If they choose strategically, we're done. Right. We can make the payment, and we'll make the payment until we can negotiate a short sale. But as opposed to being a strategic foreclosure, it is much better to short sale the property while you continue to make your payment, because, as an example, with FHA financing, you're able to qualify for a new FHA loan immediately as long as your mortgage was current at the time that your short sale closed.
Wow. Now that's interesting.
That's huge. Right. Absolutely huge. Conventional financing is a little bit tougher.
So before you go making that decision, definitely call and ask those questions.
Exactly.
Because if you're able to make the payment, they're not going to hit you on your credit the same way. Exactly. Wow, that's really interesting. And people who are taking strategic foreclosures generally are not the type of people who've been in this situation a lot.
Right.
I mean, when you talk about a strategic plan for your family's future, you're somebody who thinks and is, a conscious decision maker.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, if you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions, or, again, questions regarding the information that we cover here on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Call us anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958, or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com, or just press 4 keyword KMJ, call Valleywide to get connected to us anytime. Well, after the break, we're going to take a real quick break here. We're going to continue to talk about the impact of foreclosures and the impact on your local market. Stay right here. You are not going to want to miss this. You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on News Talk 580 KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
All it takes is one call to the professionals at Valleywide Homes, and you'll start building wealth in real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing investment property, let the experts at Valleywide Homes help. There's never been a better time to get into the real estate market. Visit our website at reofresnohomes.com or call toll-free 800-979-3958. That's 800-979-3958. And put the seasoned professionals of Valleywide Homes to work for you.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Well, we're talking about the impact in this particular segment, the impact of foreclosures. And the impact of foreclosures goes far beyond just the homeowners, but also expands to the towns and the neighborhoods as a whole. Cities with high foreclosure rates often experience a higher rate of crime, higher rate of vandalism and thefts,
right,
especially with abandoned houses. Those, and we can speak from experience,
yes,
because between myself, Sal, Jeff, and Wes, we have a few properties that are what we would consider to be problem properties. They are, once it is a situation where the locals identify a property as it is vacant, it becomes problematic because
there's a stove in there.
Well, it can be,
right,
most definitely.
Right.
Or there's a heater in that house at one point, that heating unit that has wire that they can go and sell for copper wire. Exactly. Or it could be just as simple as, especially during the wintertime, here and even in our climate here in the Central Valley, that they just need shelter.
Right.
Or it could be a situation we've seen where one of our homes has been broken into and they've used it. We found drug paraphernalia. So
gotcha.
They've gone in, used drugs, used it as shelter, used the toilet.
Nice. But you also have just, teenage vandalism, windows get broken, things like that, where people just know there's no one there to handle it.
It makes your particular property a much higher probability of being a target.
Risk, right.
Exactly, if it is vacant. Well, there is no doubt that areas that have a much higher percentage of foreclosures, it has vast effects. Property values, number one. So we've used the term in the past, blight. There are places in Detroit. I saw a fascinating story on Detroit and inner city Detroit, and how you can buy these huge row homes for under $1,000.
Wow.
But part of what it is Detroit has deteriorated and dilapidated so badly
because of the job market there.
Because of the job market there, it's been it's been hit so hard. It's amazing, and that is the ultimate, or that is the epitome of when you talk about the highest rate of foreclosures or vacant homes. Vacant homes can turn into be homes that are deemed uninhabitable. That the city comes in. Trust me, you don't want the city coming in and telling you what you can and can't do as far as a property is concerned. And I say that respectfully, but when they tell you you can't do this, guess what? You can't do this. They post this sign, and you
do not enter.
No, you don't tear down that sign, because that's a misdemeanor.
Right.
Well, there is also, when you talk about foreclosures, there's also a mental component as far as losing a property. The emotional impact of foreclosure, if you've ever been through, and I've talked to many folks that have been through it, it has an amazing stress, and it's really culturing our children of this particular day and age, that things aren't as quote-unquote steady Eddie or as secure. Because
I think it shakes their being. Oh,
most definitely.
Where is home? Where is home?
Home is wherever you lay your head. The unfortunate thing
I agree with you. Yeah. However, if a child or a young person has laid their head somewhere for many years, and then this preys upon their family, they no longer feel that sense of home just because the comfort of what they're accustomed to.
Familiarity of your surroundings is a huge part, and lends to the stability of your upbringing. It's part of your identity, and not having quote unquote that stable home life in one place.
Well, and the stress it causes to a family in general is beyond the children. I mean, just the parents having to deal with that decision-making process and what to do, of course, is going to detract from their attention to the children. So it is a family issue. It is not just one.
Your mettle is tested. And the big guy upstairs, let me tell you, makes a decision to, they often say that it doesn't put more on your shoulders than he knows you can handle. But let me tell you, if you go through the process of foreclosure, the fear of the unknown is your biggest enemy throughout the entire process. Let's talk about foreclosure and the effects real quickly before we wrap things up here, and its effect on a homeowner's credit report. Well, foreclosure, if it is a situation where foreclosure just lays waste to your credit report, it can be many, many years. But let me just say this. For qualifying for financing at some point down the road, the end of the tunnel is not, you're closer to a newer beginning than what you actually might think. With reestablished credit and at least a minimum credit score of, say, somewhere in the ballpark of about 620, in 3 years you can qualify for a new home. 3 years is not that long.
So really the message is don't give up.
Don't give up.
Rebuild your credit.
Make sure that you have a plan. Make sure that you're communicating with a servicer. If that's not that or short sale is not an opportunity.
Right.
Understand what your choices are. Understand you had said choices are extremely, extremely important.
Right.
To have choices.
And to be conscious of what your choices are and actually make a decision and not let it decide you.
not let them decide for you.
Right.
I think that's critical. So what are your options as far as foreclosure alternatives are concerned? We talked about deed in lieu, okay, just giving the property back. Or, and that's, sending the keys back, just to clarify, sending the keys back to the actual lender. Or short sale.
Right.
Ultimately, when the day is done, having the choice as far as short sale is concerned, whether you can or cannot make your payment, ultimately is much better in the long run. And this is not me being a real estate professional just trying to pitch something in order to drum up business for thousands of other realtors here locally. It really is a much better alternative because guess what? You still are in control.
And that right there is safety in and of itself, isn't it?
Exactly. If you have a choice, continue to make your payments. Keep making your payments, please, and give us a call. We'd be happy to help inform you as to what are all of the foreclosure alternatives. Well, if you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that we cover on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Call us anytime on our off-air number at 800-979-3958 or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com or just use press 4 keyword
KMJ, call Valley-wide.
Got it.
I got it that
connected to us anytime. Well, a big thank you to Michelle Pettis-Cavalli, my special guest host, as always. Michelle,
I'm special now.
Muchas gracias for being here in the studio this morning so
You're
early.
Very, very welcome.
And as always, a big thank you to Johnny B behind the mics. Johnny, you make us sound so doggone good. Our goal is to get you the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market so we can help bring you back home. Don't forget to tune in to the Real Estate Radio Network next Saturday at 4 a.m. on News Talk 580 KMJ. Make it a great day, Central Valley, and we will see you next week.
The preceding program was paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.